Okay, so continuing on with two more examples. What makes these a little bit different is that you can see from the beginning example that I've taken out a GCF to start. So this is always the first thing we want to do whenever we start any factoring problem. So you notice up here when we did these, there was no GCF in this problem here, right? There was no number that went into 10, 35, 6, and 21. But down here, we can start these problems off by taking out a 4. Now, how did I find the 4? I looked at the 20, the 160, the 32, and the 256, and I listed out my factors of 20, right? 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5, right? And then I went through those factors and I tried to determine which one went into all the other numbers. So I knew that 20 did not go into 32. I knew 10 didn't go into 32. Okay, I know 5 doesn't go into 32, but I know 4 does. So 4 goes into 32, 256, 160, and 20. And you might need a calculator to do that work, which is no problem. Okay, then I factored it out. So I divided each term by 4, and I'm left with 5v cubed minus 40v squared plus 8v minus 64. Now that problem becomes a problem just like up top. Okay, we're going to take that and we're going to break it out into two pieces. Okay, so I'm going to use some technology here, and I'm going to duplicate that and put it right underneath it so we can see. And I'm just going to put parentheses around that. Okay, so now I'm going to factor it by grouping. So I'm going to take my 4, okay, and I'm going to leave that out front. And I'm going to take my greatest common factor of 5v cubed minus 40v squared, and that's going to be a 5v squared. And what I'd be left with is v minus 8. Then I take my greatest common factor out of the next term, this one right here. And remember, I'm looking for a v minus 8 in parentheses, right? So if I take a plus 8 out, I'd be left with v minus 8. All right? And now I take my 2 for 1, right? I get my, change that to yellow. I take my v minus 8, and I bring those out front. I'm going to factor those out in front of the 4. I'm going to take them both out, and they become 1. So I have 4 times v minus 8. And what would I be left with? I'd be left with the orange here, this, and that is what goes right here. And you're done. So same kind of problem as before, except we have to take that 4 out first and then factor out the trinomial what's left. We just can't forget to put the 4 in there. So let's try one more, okay, and see how we do on this one if you want to pause it and try it on your own. Now I determined that 2 is my greatest common factor, so I looked at the 36. I went through all my factors, and I realized that the 2 was the only number that went into 42, 112, and 96. So after I factored that 2 out, that left me with this. Okay, so I still have the 2, and then I'm going to factor 21x cubed minus 56x squared. That's one of my groups. And my other group will be negative 18x plus 48. So, what is my greatest common factor between 21 and 56? It would be 7. Okay? 7 goes into 21 and 7 goes into 56. I can also take out x squared. So that's my greatest common factor here. Okay, notice I haven't done anything with the 2. It just sits out front all by itself. Okay, and I'm just kind of multiplying my answer when I'm all done with it. I like bring it back in, almost pretend it's not there until the end and then make sure it's there on the end. Okay, so I like to keep writing it, but we're not going to do anything with it. So what am I left with inside? 3x. What am I left with over here? 8. So I need to be left with, in parentheses here, after I take out my GCF, I need to be left with 3x minus 8. Okay, so how do I get a positive 3 here? What would I divide negative 18 by, okay, to leave me with a positive 3? And hopefully you guys can see that would be negative 6. So negative 6 would be my GCF of negative 18 and 48. And after I take that out, I have 3x. 48 divided by negative 6 is negative 8. And you can see that 3x minus 8 and 3x minus 8 are the same. Okay, I'm going to do my 2 for 1. I'm going to take these and I'm going to factor them out front. Don't forget about the 2. And now I have my 3x minus 8, which comes out with it. And what I'm left with is the 7x squared and the minus 6. So after I factor out that 3x minus 8, I'm just left with inside 7x squared minus 6. And that's your answer. If you multiplied all that stuff out, you would get the answer you started with. So this is factored form. Okay, I hope that helps. That is factoring by grouping. Remember to always take your GCF out first. If there isn't one, then you can begin. And from there, try your IXL problems and try any worksheets that are posted online. Good luck.